Back in 2009, the US government tried to put in a program called Cash For Clunkers to get us out of a recession. In those 30 days, they took in 677,000 vehicles, and they range all over the place. What's sad is that every one of these cars was brought in and crushed, and I have the list. Let's go over and see what got destroyed now that we have the information. So this is the long short of the story here. The program was awfully complicated for how dealers actually made the money, but basically it's simple as this. If your car was newer than 25 years old, got worse than 18 miles per gallon combined, and it was able to run and drive on its own, you were able to drive it into the dealership and you get a credit up to $4,500 based on what it is you bought. The cars that were sold were all supposed to be cars that got like 35, 40 miles per gallon. The crazy thing about all this is that we're going to go over the list here in a second of some of these cars that were crushed, but the part that's insane to me is that the next year, the EPA average actually declined, so it didn't even help. Alright, so this is what we're here for. What's the list of cars that they destroyed that we can never get back? Whenever we talk about this, people are always like, who cares, it was just a bunch of caravans. Well, yeah, they did destroy a ton of caravans, but they destroyed some really important cars that we cannot get back. Alright, so I'm going to start off this list real quick with something that is kind of important to me that a lot of people don't seem to care about, but first gen SHO Tauruses. You know how many we lost? 107 of those. Imagine if you could put 107 of those together anywhere within a 30-day period. And we crushed them all. And that means that they were running and driving, which is the worst part. And these next couple cars, I honestly had a hard time believing that anybody would trade these in for $4,500. But I guess I got to remember in 2009, people are losing their 401ks, everything's losing value, or in the middle of a recession. I guess these guys didn't realize what the cars would be worth about 10, 15 years later. There's a 1987 GNX that went out. A 1997 Aston Martin DB7. A 1997 Bentley convertible. It is a Continental convertible. That's nuts. A 1992 GMC Typhoon. The all-wheel drive, turbo, freaking SUV. We lost it. A 1990 Honda CRX. How does that get worse than 18 miles a gallon? I don't know. Maybe somebody hit the wrong button when they entered that one. I don't understand how that would even qualify. Alright, so admittedly on that list, those are just a couple of individual cars, like a couple outliers. Not everybody traded in their Typhoon, not everybody traded in their GNX, but somebody did. Idiots. But anyways, this is part of the list that kind of shocks me, honestly, is the numbers of these next cars that got traded in. One, because I've never even seen this many of these cars in one spot together. You can't even, hardly when you go to Carlisle, you can't even get this many cars together at the same time. But this many people traded them in is just kind of crazy to me. 24 second-gen SVT Lightning with the supercharged Triton. That is insane. 24 of those? How are they not still worth like 30 grand back then? I don't get it. This next one is kind of batched together on the listing for some reason. Like, so on most of them it shows like specifically what it is and then how many. This group was kind of clumped together. I don't know if that's because that's how BMW kind of denotes it when they do the trade-in program. But anyways, M3, M5, Z3, Z4, and 740i. So basically any class of BMW that's worth a lot of money at the time. 3,500 M3s, M5s, Z3s, Z4s, and 740i's. And it also includes 750i's, so the V12. What? 3,500 of those just disappeared? Literally a set of like M5 wheels in like mint condition are worth almost as much as what they're asking for these now 15 years later. Alright, this next little set of cars that we're going to go over, not quite as high in numbers on some of them, but still insane to me. There was 20 Eagle Talon TSI all-wheel drive turbo. I mean, DSMs are hard to come by nowadays. Very valuable cars. Over 100 Corvettes across the... So, 25 years from 2009, that leaves you quite a few Corvettes that are actually pretty valuable. A lot of them suck. Yeah, the C3 and C4 were not fantastic, but it's a Corvette. You got rid of it for $4,500. A couple more of these that are shocking to me was 200 3000 GT VR4s, 373 RX7s, and 327 Supras, including 4 MK4 Supras were crushed and sent to China. Not gonna lie, in today's money, that might be the worst trade deal in the history of trade deals, and we've had some pretty bad trade deals recently. We lost over 1,000 Camaros from multiple generations. We lost about 1,500 Mustangs from multiple generations. In my heart, I hope it's mainly Camaros that had like the 2.5 Iron Duke or, you know, 3.8 liter V6 Mustangs that are terrible vehicles anyway. A lot of the stuff that got traded in, though, is, as far as I can tell, it actually denotes that it was pretty high trim package vehicles for a lot of the specialty cars that were on that list. I'm not going to go through everything because I'm sure somebody's already done that. This video I just wanted to put out there because I saw an article and it shocked me what those cars are worth now. So, talk about the money. So, how it worked with the states is that basically there was a grand total of how much money each state made. The top was California. In that 30-day period, they made $322,677,000 all from these vehicles. So that's a lot of, at $4,500 a piece, that's a lot of cars off the road. The part that's hard for me to take in is just how many cars disappeared in a short period of time. That's 677,000 cars that's an insane amount of vehicles that just gone. And the part that I guess annoys me the most is it didn't even need to happen. It didn't help, and we lost a lot of valuable vehicles that the people that don't have money need to have cheap vehicles. These are cheap vehicles that, if you're not in a state that has crazy inspection over like gas cap and stuff, but these cars could have lasted people across the country. You would have been better off taking these cars in, taking the money, give them the 4,500, whatever, and then basically donate them back to people that can't afford a vehicle, because they had to be running and drive. They had to be good vehicles to get rid of it. And what we did instead was we owed China a bunch of money to help us bail out of a recession, help bail out different automakers, and we basically paid some of our debts back to China by taking a bunch of cars from the public and then shipping them directly to help them with the steel they needed for their industrial revolution that's happening in China the last 15 years. It's kind of sickening what happened. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hopefully I tried to find some kind of cool pictures of the cars, just put in perspective of like, the one that hurts me the most is a half dozen SVT F-150s are freaking gone, and you can't even find those anywhere, dude. It's nuts. Alright guys, see ya.